Good evening, friends. I want to suggest we wait a few minutes, then we will start. We'll start shortly. Good evening, friends. We are going to start, and I will request Mike Mbazira, if you can hear me, please lead us in an opening prayer.
Yes, hello. Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Can I hope I'm audible?
Yes, a bit, but I can hear you.
Okay, then that's fine. Let's pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Oh Lord Father, we thank you for this evening. We pray that as we begin today's discussion, you are with us. Give us the guidance, give us the wisdom, Lord Almighty, Let us all that we discuss be used to glorify your holy name. We pray for all this through your Son, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mike Mbazira. My name is Gervas Ndianabo, President of UNCCLA. I want to once again welcome all of you. I see more people are joining us. We are starting 5 minutes late, but no problem, we'll catch up. And we know that we have other people who have joined us on YouTube, but this is the live stream. This is the live audience. Now, today we have a very important topic. Every time you talk about the family, it is indeed a very important topic. Now, there will be many aspects of the family, but today we have a special one where we are talking about how family influences who we become as adults. That's a very important aspect. So we need to know that, particularly if you are a parent or if you are planning to be a parent. Now, to take us through this, we have Mrs. Rotarian Nakato Winnie Fernandes, who is a family and child psychologist, and she's the Nabafumbo of Entebbe Parish. If you don't know what a Nabafumbo is, you just ask someone, but that is part of the family. Now, to introduce a little bit more about our presenter, since we are talking about family, we can talk a little bit about her as a family member. She's married to Captain Fernandes Alexander Mugisha, who is a principal flight safety inspector with the Civil Aviation Authority. She's a mother of two. She's a mother of two boys, one of whom is a major seminarian. So you can see how she's bringing up her children. The other one is soon joining university to pursue law. I will not say more about her. If she wants, she will tell us more, but just that's a bit about her as a family member. But as I said earlier, she's a family and child psychologist, and she's practicing that as taking the lead as Nabafumbo of Entebbe Parish. Now, you're most welcome, and the audience is waiting to hear from you. You're most welcome. At the end of the session, we will give people a chance to ask some questions, but also to make their own comments. Everyone will have their own experiences. So, Rotarian Nakato Winnie, you're welcome. Please go ahead and make your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Ndianabo. As you have already been informed, I'm Rotarian Nakato Winnie Fernandes. I am married to a man, one man, Captain Fernandes Mugisha Alexander, as introduced. I'm a mother to two lovely, handsome sons, and I'm a mother to many. They may not be biological, but I have nurtured many and mentored many. I'm here to present to you. Our discussion is about how family has an influence to who we become. So my area of concentration is going to be on the developmental stages that we go through right from birth up to when we are quite elderly and when the Lord calls us back. So we shall be looking at what is a family. Different people have different definitions of what a family is. A family is a group of persons who are united either by marriage, that is husband and wife, blood, we have a lineage, adoption, or we can have different types of families, profession, and all the like. But here we are putting our concentration on the family that has a father, mother, children, and relatives. So what do we expect in this family? In this family, we expect the children to be taken care of, because God's purpose of creation, he created man and he created woman, who he united together to help him procreate, to have other children. So in this family, God had a purpose for marriage. God had a purpose for a family. But as parents, are we doing our part? Are we playing our role? A number of times, as we may see, in Africa, we have a saying that it takes the whole village to raise a child, because we look at your neighbors, your relatives, and everybody, all that becomes another sort of family. But when you're growing up as a child, what did you go through? A number of adults have challenges they are going through, or they are taking others through, but why? Just because of the way they were created. When I was given a topic to discuss, I made some research. And family, like our family relationships, they really rotate around 4 main areas. Now that one is on the layman's saying or perception. One, we have the emotional health. In these early stages of development, what a child sees is what they do. If you tell a child, I don't want you to walk while you're eating, and you, the mother or father, are in the house walking while eating, the child will listen, but they will actually walk while eating. They will not sit down at table as you have told them. Why? Because a child picks more what they say with the environment around. If this child is in a family where people, they communicate using abusive language, this child will take that. However much you tell the child, I don't want that kind of language that you're using, but because that's what the child hears at home, they will use that. So a family, a home is the first institution where a child gets the emotional health. Then we have the second one, which is mental health. Now with mental health, we look at the generational circles where people have negative patterns or traits that could be passed on generation to generation. And people comfortably get in a corner and talk of things like, poverty. For us, poverty runs throughout our family. That is something that is mental, because you as an individual, you could be coming from a poor background, but you take a decision and say, I will not be poor. And maybe you start moving around with people who are going to add value to you. We look at things like, in my family, we grew up, there was no love. So you cannot tell me that I am supposed to show you love. Now that applying to a husband and wife. They are trying to carry on what they saw in their family, which is mental health, that area of mental health. And yet, when a child grows up in a family where communication is healthy, they show love, they encourage one another, there is affection. This child, when they grow up, they will be very good people. They will be able to help others. They will be able to interact with others. They will be able to listen. They will not become just judgmental, but like understand that people have different perceptions. But when a child does not get that, then it affects the child mentally, because they get a negative mentality towards things. This cannot happen because our family is like that. Me, I cannot stop drinking because my father, my grandfather, and everybody are drunkards. So the family contributes also to our mental health. The third is the self-esteem. As we are growing up in these families, families have different parenting styles. I'll go into depth about parenting styles another time if given the opportunity, but there are some parenting styles that actually affect who you will be. If a child is raised up in an authoritarian parenting style family, whereby the parents are so tough, they dictate everything, they are always right, they don't listen to anybody, this child, when they grow up and become adults, they are so open to low self-esteem. They cannot believe in themselves. Why? Because right from when they were young, they were always shut down. We have a number of people in society who can do better things, who can do great things, but due to lack of self-esteem, they feel they can't. All the time they want to get some social support from somebody. Even when they know they can do it, they want to hear another voice instructing them. At times, maybe you're in meetings and you suggest somebody, oh, Mr. So-and-so, can you take us through this? Then you say, no, I cannot talk about that. Maybe we talk to so-and-so who is the head of department. Yet he also works in that particular department that is supposed to present, but maybe the head of department is away for some reason. And all they need is clarification over something small, but because this person lacks self-esteem, which was killed when he was young, it wasn't instilled in him. All he had was the authoritarian voice. He feels he cannot say something because he doesn't fall in that position. And the fourth is the relationship, the connection we have with others. What is our correlation between our relationship with our parents? How was it? Was it a loving relationship? What was there? Was it violence and what? When this child grows up and is an adult, honestly, they will not be able to be in a romantic affair. Why? Because all they saw was violence. You may hear even some people say, for example, ladies, one may comment and say, if a man doesn't beat you, then he doesn't love you. Why? Because she grew up seeing the mother being battered every time. And she thinks that is the way, because each time they beat the mother, maybe the father would come back to say sorry and buy the mother a gift, something like that, like how it was in the olden days. And they will take it into their mind that that's how a relation should be. But somebody who has been raised up in a family where there is love, whereby there are values, where people listen to one another, then these people are likely to have an attachment to their spouses in that they can listen to one another. So as we are moving along, I still made some research, and I would want us to go through what two theorists talk about. There's one who is called Sigmund Freud and Erik Erikson. They really took time to study how development affects our adulthood. They looked at a child who is born up to 18 months. This child comes to the world like how you'd see a blank paper, blank, the one that we use for printing, there's nothing written on it. So you, the parent or the caregiver, you are the one who writes everything onto that child. The first 5 years of a child are very important. It makes a sexual map in that child's mind. Why? Because if this child is born, all they are expecting a welcoming environment. Remember, they have been in the womb, nothing is happening there, but they have been communicating with the mother. As the child is in the mother's womb, there is communication that goes on between mother and the baby to be born. So when this child comes to the world, all they know, everything goes to the mouth. It is amazing how the child can tell that now this is mama's nipple, I'm going to suck. So in such an incident at the time of birth, all this child knows, pleasure is in the mouth. Everything that the child gets hold of, it goes to the mouth. They at times suck onto their sweaters. You see them sucking their fingers, trying to lick everything that comes close to them. It is communication. It should go to the mouth. So if this child at that time is not handled well, this child, there are two things that will happen. The parent, through that breastfeeding, little do they know that they are either teaching their child to trust people or not to trust people. So they either build trust or mistrust in this child. How? Now, when this child is being carried and the mother is lovely or the caretaker is lovely, whoever is feeding this child, because nowadays some children start the bottle feeding at day 1, depending maybe on the mother's health conditions, and the child is on a bottle. So as this child is feeding and the child does not sense love in it, then they will say, I think people are not welcoming. Maybe one person is changing hands to whom she should give the child to, and then just shouts. This child may appear very innocent, yes, they are, and you may think that they don't understand. But remember, by the time a child is born, their brain is also developing. So they can hear, they can feel, they can taste, all their senses are also active. So this child would say, I was in very loving hands. Now, like when the maternity leave is on, the first 3 months, the mother is always holding the child close to the chest, bathing her, doing everything. Then after the maternity leave, leaves the child with maybe another person who is a bit harsh. This child will sense, and this child will start crying. The child will bring out all sorts of discomfort signs, which the caretaker may not take note of. But that is when now this child gets fixated at that time, and they may not trust or they may trust. In that, when they're adults, we live with some people who don't trust anybody. They have no trust in anything. Why? Because that stage was not navigated well. But when somebody discovers they are that kind of person, they have issues with trusting, they can be helped. You find a psychologist, they will help you overcome what you missed out. And at that stage, we see some habits. We don't say that whoever does that, because habits are something that we learn, and at times we unlearn. But environment also can bring that. But some, majority, they resort to drinking. Why? Because the mouth keeps demanding. This is at times where the addicts are, where they come from. They resort to drinking, they resort to eating all the time. They want to put something into the mouth. Some of them resort to smoking all the time, or nail biting. Even some others, you'll find somebody who can talk and talk and talk and talk and will not let others talk. Why? Because the mouth is demanding. At that time when they had to take what they had to take, it was denied to them. Remember, there are some people who don't give their children time. A child will cry and the parent or the caretaker is not noticing. So normally this child fails to trust people around them because of that stage. And when it comes to us ladies, at times you get this maid today, after 1 week, you feel she's not the right person, you send her off. Then you get another one who might be worse. So the more this child keeps changing hands from one person to the other person, one person's care to the other, it affects this child greatly. And at times, there are some issues that we could have foregone, but we tend to build more on that and we forget the little one, maybe because we don't know that it affects them. When you do the breastfeeding well, when you give this child attention, the cries, and you know, when this child cries like this must be a wet bed. Maybe they want to change their diapers. Maybe they are hungry. Maybe they just need attention because they need it. They need us around them. So when we do it right, we help these children believe in the caregivers, and they will trust everybody. They will trust that the world is a safe place, and they will trust that needs can be met. When I need something, I can ask and I'll be given. Or I will ask, and when they tell me it's not available, it is fine. They'll give me at the right time. But when we don't help them, then they grow up not trusting anybody. You might be at place of work and somebody says, you want to talk about increment? Don't say that. I don't think they can ever think of even applying that. Don't even talk about it. They will just fire us. You want to do this? No, don't go to that person. They cannot give you help. Why? Because all they learned was not to trust other people. Now we move to the next stage. We look at stage 2, whereby these children, we are looking now at a child from that 18 months now who goes on up to 3 years. Now these children, a number of times we call them the troublesome twos. Everything is mine, 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 my daddy, my mommy, my what. So if this child is not helped at that time to know that they should share, to know that daddy is not for one person, daddy is for everybody. When they grow up and they're adults, you'll find them still saying, when I say something, nobody repeats it. So when this child is an adult, you may have a meeting, and for some reason, this person raises a point and nobody seems to buy the point they're saying, or they say that that point is good, but it will be applied maybe in future, not now. The moment they say no, this person can storm out of the meeting. Why? Because at that time, when they were 2 to 3, they were not taught self-control. Here, we do the potty training, whereby the importance is to teach somebody how to control themselves. The sense of control. You control yourself where you're going and how you conduct yourself. Self-control stems at the age of 2 to 3 years. But a number of times as parents, what do? When we are in some areas, not everybody, but some setting, there are people who tell their 2-year-old child, when the child comes and says, Mommy, I want to go to the toilet, or Daddy, then they say, you go outside, make there. Even they tell them, come behind my back, stand here. Who is seeing you? Don't mind, you make. I'm not going to take you. Maybe the mother is watching some movie and she doesn't want to move away from it. I am not moving away from this place. You can do this. That child is being exposed to a habit where they have no self-control. Anybody can see me. Then when they are big men, they are grown up, we see them hopping from one woman to the other because they were used to their bodies being exposed. They were used to people seeing everything. They have no self-control, like, I'm going to speak this, how is it going to affect the other person? It was not instilled in them. That is the age when we do that. We teach our children where to go to help themselves, how to sit at table. That is when the table manners should be taught. We teach them in a way that these are the values of this home. You may not tell them everything, but little by little, this is how we greet. This is how we do this. That's why you see that in homes, a parent, the way you want your children to greet guests, you do it so that this child can copy. So if at this stage, when this child is being taught that, if it is not handled well, the child now gets shame, develops shame or doubt. Let's say the child is seated, then as she's running, she's seated there, then maybe she's taking her tea and she knocks the cup of milk accidentally, and you come from this way and just slap her. Why did you have to do that? This child develops shame in her and says, I'm not supposed to do anything. So even when she's a big person, you might find somebody offering them a cup of coffee, and then she'll say, no, I don't want that. Because she knows When I take tea, I am beaten. It might have been done to her when she's just 2 years old, but the mind registers that. That is how some people avoid things. And you ask them, why don't you want to do this? Says, I just find myself doing like that. So at this age, we are teaching our children to be independent. Let the child try out. If they are putting on shoes, let them put on their shoes. They'll put the left onto the right. It's okay. They'll put a black dress, then a green top. It is fine. Correct them, but in a better manner. Because if you just come and tell her, why are you putting on your swimming costume? Is this a swimming pool? You're inside the house. It will instill fear in them, shame, and they will never go to do things independently. At this age, we should strive very hard to make sure that we teach our children to have the will to do things, a will to help themselves, whereby they can answer questions like, can I do something by myself, or do I have to get help from people all the time? Because when you do it right, they will know they can do things on them by themselves. When we don't do right, then they will always wait and rely on 2 other people. There are some adults who will wait, they know the right thing, but then they say, no, I have to wait for somebody to tell me to do this. And they will even ask, who told you to do that? And because of this shame that we instill in them, instead of giving them that independence, the autonomy for them to do things their way, we are likely to be the cause of people developing a low academic achievement. There are some children and the parents will keep saying, I don't know why this child performs like this. I used to perform very well. Even the mother was bright, but I don't know why they give us poor grades. It is at 2-3 years when you instilled that. These people tend to get anxiety, fear of the unknown. Everything they are going to do, they tend to fear. We have adults who fear before they do anything. They are so negative. No, that will not work. They bring a budget for this. No, it cannot work. That money is too much. There is that fear that was instilled in them. These people tend to get depressed. They develop depression. Parents think that it's only adults that go through that. But this child, much as the child is coiling away because of fear, they are always timid. So as they grow, there's that depression. It's very easy for them to get depressed, and they have very low coping skills, and they lack control of their lives, as I earlier said. Now we move to the next group. And in this next group, we are looking at the age, these children who run from 3 to 6, the preschool. Now there we have started going to kindergarten. The reason why you need to take them is to socialize with others. We are looking at the social part now. At 3 to 6 is when we teach children to socialize. If you look back, this is the age when people start cooking in tins. For those who grew up in areas where toys were not so many, they tend to start cooking in tins, boiling water, in the mud there. But what happens? A number of times the parents just come and kick off those tins. Why are you making yourselves dirty? So when this lady grows up, she may not be good at cooking. She may never love the kitchen, never. Because each time she goes to the kitchen, the young 3-year-old reminds her, you were stopped from cooking. This plain cooking was stopped, so you cannot do a good thing. And still at this age, here we see the boys tend to like being in their mother's company, because at age 3, they have identified themselves. I am a boy. And if you listen to them very well, they like telling you, I am a boy, I am a big girl, I am a big boy. They will not say I am a big child, but they will always refer to their sex. I am a big boy, I am a big girl. I am doing because I'm a girl. I like my bag because I'm a girl. Everything, they will attach their sex to it. So at this stage, if it is not navigated well, it brings us very big issues. Because at 3, a boy will be very close to the mother, and a girl will be very close to the father. If the father is absent, This girl, when she grows up, she will yearn for the father's love that was missed. And you end up finding her, maybe she's at campus then, but she's moving out with men who are like her father's age. It's not that she has failed to get her age mates or people who are within her age bracket. No, but she's yearning for the love that she didn't get at 3 to 6. The same applies to the boys. They will move out with people who are a lot older than them. Why? Because mom was absent. So at 3 to 6, as parents, we are supposed to be with our children, because remember, at 5, that sex map that this child gets, that closeness of the person. When I talk of sex map, I'm talking of this closeness of the opposite sex of this child. The closeness that this child gets of that person, it will help them as adults. They will have that love. When a man is getting a wife, a number of times, they tend to get a woman who has a bit of the mother's characters. And you hear them saying, why are you talking to me like you are my mother? Why? Because the wife has some characters which are similar to the mother. She has a way of doing things which are similar. But this man got it when he was 3 to 6 years. Even the same thing happens to the girl. The girl will tell the husband when she's a woman now and say, but you're treating me as if you're my father. My father also used to do this, and you're also doing the same thing. Why? Because at 3 to 6, she navigated it well. When these children don't get that affection from their parents, and maybe same sex, the girl is with the mother and the boy is with the father throughout, when they grow up, they tend to believe that I can be loved by the same sex. Only people of my sex can love me. Now that's where the problem comes from. Not that they are born like that, but because they didn't get that sex map into their mind. So at that age, we have to give it attention. And when we do give it attention, it gives great husbands, great wives. They know how to handle each other. Okay, we move. And with that stage, we see that these people, we instill, either they can initiate something on their own, or they can become guilty of what they are in. I am moving out with this person, but am I good or am bad? You know, those questions. So here we try to help them to get that purpose. The purpose of life is what you instill in your 3 to 6-year-old, which will bring to a very purposeful adult when we are adults. When it is not navigated well, then we keep questioning ourselves. Am I doing the right thing? Did I even get married to the right man? Did I get married to the right woman? Or is this really what I wanted? Is this the kind of family I wanted? Is this the kind, because this person that you met between that year, what did they instill in you? The 3 to 6. Then we look at this child who is next now. This child has moved on. We are looking at now up to like 11 years, 6 to 11 years. This child, a lot is happening in their mind. This child has, this is the point when you should help this child become industrious, hardworking. If not, this child will develop inferiority. But now what do we do to these children? We are leaving these children to watch cartoon. Even you, an adult, TV time should not be more than 2 hours. But what do? We are watching TV from morning to evening. We are leaving our children to watch cartoons because the cartoons are the ones that mind them. But these children get addicted to these cartoons and they cannot learn any work. At this age of 6 to 11, this is when a child should be taught to do some things. They can wash their undergarments, they can wash, you under your supervision. This child can be taught how to wash dishes. Some light chores this child should be taught. Because when they grow up, then they become lazy and you start complaining. Can you imagine? He graduated, but he doesn't want to do anything at home. But what did you do when this person was 6 to 11 years? Did you teach them? Did they learn any skills? Or it was purely books? So we need to teach our children at least some skills. And when they do this through learning as a parent, you encourage them. People make mistakes. Mistakes are normal. When you make a mistake, correct it. Don't show them, how could you do like this? You're such a fool. Those words that we use on children don't only stop at that age, but the person takes it up even when they're adults and they say, but I'm a foolish person. Even when I was growing up, my parents were telling me, I am not competent. At this age, we are teaching our children to be competent. How can I be good? That's what they should be achieving at. Because actually here we see the stepmothers, they do a very good job, much as we think they are mistreating people. In their mind, they know they are mistreating a child, yes, but they are actually teaching this child. That's why you see that at times these children who have been raised by their stepmothers, of such people, caretakers who take care of them after, tend to turn out to be very successful people. Why? Because when they were 6 to 11, they taught them how to do work. They taught them the right thing, though the person who was doing it thought that they were punishing them. But actually, they were doing them a good service to teach them how to do their housework. So we help people navigate through this in order to gain that competence. When we don't do it well, and this person lacks that self-esteem in them, what happens to them? They get unsocial behaviors. Now this is where the thieves stem from. The robbery comes from here. These antisocial behaviors now stem from this place. Still here, we see that they get faced with anxiety, they have depression, and they have poor performance academically. And even when it comes to jobs, there are some officers who are given a job and they will never be able to complete. They are at this and they don't complete and they have all sorts of excuses. It is at this age that we give birth to substance use. Though substance use also can come from environment, but at this age when somebody is not taught how to be competent, they are not taught how to be industrious, they may move into bad company. And at that stage, we get the suicidal thoughts, the ideas come from there. If you navigate it well, then that means that your child will have a better mental health and physical. They will be confident in all their abilities. They will have a high perception of success and they have a positive image. From that child, we are seeing now the child, the adolescent. This is another age that we really have to pay attention to. Now the adolescent, that is 12 to 18, here somebody is supposed to identify themselves. So whom did you identify with yourself with? If you identified yourself with the right people, then trust me, you are going to be an adult who has a great identity of the areas that you'll move to. If a child identifies themselves with people who are not right, then they will get confused. They will end up in different things. Because here the virtue that you're teaching a child of 12 to 18 years should be fidelity, being faithful, not only to another person, but also to themselves, to everybody. But what happens when we don't do this? If you have seen in most schools, at this age when children fail to identify themselves well, and they identify with the wrong people, this is where most addicts start their drinking from and use of substance. It is from that age. That's where they start from. And when they come on, they are like, why would I do this? Why would I do that? Because it is at this age that they identified themselves with the wrong groups. So we have to help our adolescents to know that you're a girl and a lady behaves like this. At the age of 12, we should make sure that the father is close to the son. If we know we have single parents, but even the single parent, get your brother, get a man figure in your child's life to help them so that this child can see that this is how men behave. This is how men act. Then also the same to the ladies, to the men. If your wife has gone, the mother of the child has left the child with you, make sure that you identify a female figure, maybe your sister, your mother, who will help this girl grow up knowing this is how ladies behave. When we don't do that, these children are quick to be inducted into groups that are not right. It is very easy for them to join any community without thinking twice because they don't know who they are. They have not identified who they are. Let the child know that I am this. And at this stage, we see a lot of mental issues with adolescents. They develop other things. You see, like in schools, you'll hear, oh, the school has been attacked by spirits. So they have called father to go and do exorcism because all the children are falling. But at that time, also schizophrenia is settling in. Why? Because of lack of identity. This child doesn't know who they are. I'm not saying that the evil spirits are not there. They are there. But majority of these children, before we rush to look at the evil spirit area, it's better to understand what they have been going through. Some of them have been abused. Some of them have been in very traumatizing situation. So at 12 to 18, it tends to come up. And if it is not given attention, parents, we need to listen to children who are of that age, because they get confused. And whom do they have to run to? They will run to their peers, who are going to confuse them the more. They have a challenge, instead of coming to the parent, they take off to their peers. Now, at that age, that is where we are really grooming the husband of tomorrow and the wife of tomorrow, because the next stage they are going to move into is the one of intimacy. But if it was not navigated well, you have not been helped as you were that age, it will be very hard for you to be faithful. Then we shall get other habits, those behaviors like prostitution and the like, and all these other habits that we are now hearing of, because somebody has failed to identify who they are, what their worth is, what is expected of them. The next group I want us to look at is the one of the age 19 to 40 years. Now, at 19 to 40 years, a person should have been helped to develop intimacy, love. If they have navigated all the other stages I have talked about well, then when they get to this, they have two things. To develop love within them, that means they can love themselves and they love also other people, because you cannot give out what you don't have. You can't say, I love you, yet you don't love yourself. You're saying, I am fed up of myself. So how will you love another person? If this stage is not navigated well, because at this stage, 19 years, most children, if it was not of COVID, they have joined campus. But what do we do as parents? We know these children are not in the seminary, they are not in the novice. And because when they're in the seminary and novice, we know what we should tell them. The intimacy is the love for Christ. They should love their people in community. How can they be a better priest tomorrow? How can they be a better nun? How can they be a better religious brother? But what do? We leave them to discover on themselves, and then they get isolation. So a child who gets isolation will not have love to pass on. Then for these ones who are not going into the vocation line, they are supposed to be helped to develop that love for one another, how they'll become a better mother, how they'll become a better father, how they'll become a better provider in their home, how they'll love people from the spouse's side. But when we don't do that, that is when we get people who cannot love other people. All they do is to look for trouble. They don't have a strong sense of personal identity because it was not developed. So here intimately, they cannot develop it. They think they are equals. You know, this is the stage where people should be showing off love for one another. But instead, we are seeing them stabbing one another. When you have love, you cannot stab the other person. When you have love, you cannot fight your next person. So we need to help one another to develop that stage well. The next one are the 40 to 65 years. Now, at this age, this person is supposed to be generous, contribute to the community, give back to community. Parishes are building. You're among those who are contributing back. But a number of times when it was not developed well, being that they didn't go through the other stages well, when they get to this stage, when they talk of contribution, they'll say, let those ones contribute. After all, they are the ones with money. For me, I am not contributing. It's not that they don't have money, but it's because stagnation came in. They got fixated. They didn't navigate the other stages well. The love was not developed, so they feel they cannot give back. But at this stage, between 40 to 65, people are supposed to give back. That's when they start helping all those from their areas, their relatives, and what they are interested in seeing other people succeed, interested in helping one another. When we don't, we become stagnant and we become jealousy. And it takes us to the next stage, which is from 65 until the last age that can be there when God calls somebody. So after 65, if somebody has not developed well in the other stages, then they become very jealous. These are some of the people who are in some areas, and the neighbor comes to develop and they say, "Sha, how can that one build here? I have seen him growing. Where did he get the money? When my children cannot do that, they will not build." Now that age, they start even going into other practices to see how they can tarnish off somebody or really destroy this person. So we are who we are because of what we were when we are children. As we keep growing, we go through different stages and they bring out who we are. We are not who we are because this is the way we are born. No, but the stages that we have gone through, and maybe we've not been helped well. If we are helped well, we go through well. At this stage, if somebody has been helped well, they tend to leave a legacy behind. They wish everybody well. They feel with that person. They have that empathy. They take an extra mile. They are concerned. They want to make sure that everyone is happy. They don't want to leave behind a troubled family. So these families of ours really do a lot. When we are growing up, there's a lot that we pick from there that registers into our mind. And then when we are adults, we do things not knowingly, but because of our unconscious mind, something comes up because that's what you grew up saying. At that point, I want to pause and see if you have any questions, because I had prepared to just take you through the developmental stages that we go through from childhood and how they affect us and what we become as adults. Thank you.
Wow, that's definitely a great presentation, and I'm sure our participants are all happy with what they've had. If we were in one room, people would be busy clapping, but I know some people know how to use their systems to do that. Thank you very much. Those stages are very important. Now you went beyond children, you went to the stages where we ourselves are. I thought that was even a mirror to ourselves. Where are we on these stages? Now, dear friends, you may have a question or comment. We will have a few minutes to do that. I can see people clapping on the chat. So thank you very much. Now, in the chat room, you can see we are updating you on how else you can get to us. Our Twitter handle, we are on Facebook, we have a website, which is beginning to be developed. These talks are on YouTube, so there is so much more. So I can see people are really clapping. Robert Nyago, Immaculate Atwonjere, and everyone. Dr. Peter Ngategize. So any questions or comments, dear friends? You can raise your hand here or you can type it in the chat room. So we'll raise a few and then we'll ask our guests to respond to them or make final comments. Any questions or comments? I believe everyone is satisfied. The presentation was very clear.
Thank you. Thank you.
No comments?
I have a comment.
Yes, please go ahead and give your comment.
I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity. My name is Dr. Primrose Nakasbe from Bara University of Science and Technology. I just want to appreciate the presenter for giving us this very, very health talk to us for the growth path. I was only interested in almost every stage, but I missed something that maybe next time she can think of including, now that it's becoming very, very important, to highlight the idea of gender identity. At what stage does it become important that the parents supports the process of self-identification of who I am? It's becoming very challenging for children to identify themselves with any kind of gender. Today I was watching a friend of mine whose child turned 2, a boy with pierced ears, and this is in the Western society. So yet we have known in our society that girls start looking at themselves as girls when they start wearing those features they see their mothers wearing. So things like earrings become crucial, things like lipstick become crucial. So and the boys also start to learn the masculinities. How do I become a boy? How do I present myself as a boy? So sometimes it's very important now that these notions, we speak to them so that we can guide our children against this identity crisis. Where do I belong? Is it okay if I belong here and there? More especially now that these messages are not strange to children, they know that people can choose to be anything. But in the nurturing process, how do we support our children into being who they are? And I think we shouldn't shy away from our cultures. If they have any input, they give to us in this regard. So typically, what is it that Anankole and Uganda actually in the growth stages? What are those feminine things that we see and we should emphasize? And if they require us to go back and borrow leaf from our cultures to emphasize them, what is it that the modern society has to offer? And then we go into the buffet of choices that are available for these kids to fit in. Thank you so much. We are really, really grateful. I am only worried and concerned that these messages keep within the circles of the most educated, of course, also very challenged. But then these messages, we should find a way of targeting the semi-literate women, more especially the young mothers that we have in our society today, young mothers who have dropped out of school due to so many challenges of society, and create these platforms for them also to fit in and learn. This is where the biggest challenge is coming from now, from the young mothers in how they grow their children. Thank you, and good evening to you all.
Thank you, Doctor. For that. That's very good information. Doctor identifies gender identity. I am sure, Doctor, we can work together and find the time to make that presentation. Would you be willing to do that? Or find somebody?
Definitely, I'll find time, more especially to speak to my sister, if we can link up and have that chat. But also, if given an opportunity next time, as building on her beautiful presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I wanted to just comment something on what Doctor has said, maybe because I was rushing, but I talked of the 2 to 3 years when we do the potty training. That is when we should teach our children our morals. You teach them your culture at 2 to 3. Then from there, when we move to 3 to 6, I talked of when the boy should be close to the mother. That closeness, and they tend to like it. You see a boy running around the mother, but at times we push them away. Don't disturb me, go to your father. But at 3 to 6, a boy is exactly like the father. So he tries to compete with the father for that love. And the same applies to the the girl to the father. But a number of times parents push away those children and it affects them. So when it comes to identity, we go to the adolescent stage, 12 to 18 years. That is where identity is. But this identity is affected by what the child went through between 3 and 6. When this boy was running to the mother, was the mother welcoming? If she didn't welcome the boy and the boy identified himself more with the father, this boy will grow up thinking he can be loved by the same sex. Same applies to the girl if she was very close to the mother. I said somewhere that for issues where we have single parents, identify yourself with a brother, an uncle, a grandfather, but someone who will not take advantage. Unfortunately, some people are taking advantage of those children who run to them. Maybe people who are living in areas where they have other tenants. A child will see the father of the other home and run towards that father, but that father may mistaken the relationship of this child running to him and may end up using that child. Or at times, the wife of the other father on block B may mistaken this child who keeps running from block A to B and say, are you having an affair with that woman? Why is it that always her child runs to you? And yet this child is missing that gap. If we can help one another, that our children at that age of 3 to 6, they are actually close to the opposite sex. The father, an uncle, a brother, elderly. Then for the 12 to 18, these girls, if they have navigated well from 3 to 6, they will be able to identify themselves with the opposite sex other than saying, I am a girl, and since I have grown up seeing my mother, she's the only one who loves me, so it is only girls that can love me. That is where the problem comes from. And someone asked about orphans, that when we are raising orphans, they come knowing that they are orphans, okay? Yes, but when an orphan comes to a home that is loving, welcoming, this child already is struggling with a post-traumatic stress disorder. There's her stress that is there, okay? She has her childhood traumas. She has a lot. Maybe when the parents passed on, they were mistreated. Land was grabbed from them. Everything was taken. So when you take her on, she may not trust you there and then. You kindly have to help her or him develop the trust with the surrounding. Have you talked to your children? A number of times, parents bring other children into their home without considering those who are biological to them. They don't sit with them. You wake up one morning and poop, dad has come with 6 of his brother's kids, but he has not said anything to you. You have not prepared a ground for this, your children, to receive these orphans. So when these orphans come in, you will be doing everything for them. But how about your children? Who are their age mates? Are they going to be welcoming? These children, yours, may see that these orphans have come to claim their love, to take away their father, to take away their mother's love from them. So they will start fighting back. What we have to do before we bring in the children, we prepare the ground for them. Let these other children know why you are bringing this other member to join you, and they understand you are not seeking permission from them. You are informing them and asking them to work with you as you nurture these orphans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are running out of time. We will have 2 quick comments or questions from Piamucha Zenos and Dr. Peter Ngategize. 30 seconds each, and then we will conclude.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to know about, I think a simple comment about the children who grow out, obviously, with some challenges like autism. Those children, obvious, the way stages and the way you see the parents can help these children. So if a child is like have autism, obviously they are aggressive, they are almost resistant to react to anything and to follow anything properly. So what do you advise within that? Do they have another staging that they need to pass through different from this normal one? Or they have to be forced again to pass through this normal one, which is a bit hard. For example, you will not expose them to any public, they will be aggressive and they will be irritating, and that socialization will be a bit limited. Just a small comment.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Dr. Ngategize, are you still there?
Chairman, I'm there, but I will yield. I know you have limited time. This was beautiful, and I thank you for being consistent on this. We can build on this to build better homes, better families, better communities. I'm trying to write a book on a mindful state to better living. I can think about retirement, talk about wealth, but we know science is also changing. You know, GPT-3, you know, DALI E2. So I think we continue on this pace and really create a better environment for all of us to live in. I will want to connect with her to be able to improve on my chapter about growing up. Thank you very much, Chair and the presenter.
Thank you very much. Winnie, within 1 minute, I think for Dr. Ngategize, it's just a comment, but there was a question about
autism.
Children with special needs.
Yes, now those children with special needs, parents should still take it that these children are a blessing to us. And when you identify, because at these children, they show the signs come out a bit early, but we may not see them as we are parents, and at times we are not knowledgeable about the situation of the child. But when you have such a child, the first thing I would encourage a parent is to love this child and you understand who this child is. For sure, when you have such a child, we do handle them, because if I go into explaining onto everything, I'm sure I'll take more time. But autism is not a curse. It is not a death sentence. They can be managed. And there are steps that you can be taken through on how to do it. But by the time you do that, of course, I'm a psychologist and ours is to journey with you. But then we have people who are into psychiatry who will now go into that and they will tell you what medications to take. So we work hand in hand as we help, because the parent of a child who is suffering from autism, they too themselves really need to journey, to be counseled, to have the will to move on, because it is so hurting when you look at the condition of your child and you don't know, you start blaming yourself. Where did I go wrong? What did I do? Most people actually blame God. What did I do to God? But you did nothing to God. It is a situation, it's a condition that somebody has been born with or developed. So it is something that can be handled. That's what I can encourage. And please don't close those children up. Seek help. Those children can live also a life like any other child, though they will not be able to do so many things that another child can do. Then we also have children who urinate on bed. Please, those children, don't just beat them. Let's see what is causing that elimination disorder. Why is it happening? How often does it happen? As a parent, get your book and tick and say, she urinates at this time. It's some hard work, but in the end, it can yield some good results. Thank you very much, Mr. Ndianavo, for hosting me. And members, thank you very much for everything. I wish you the best. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Winnie. Everyone is happy. Some people have put some of their comments in the chat room, but we are most grateful. And I can assure you, we will get back to you, because this is a topic that's very important to the development of society. Now, even good things come to an end. And just to let our friends, everyone, that these talks are on every 2 weeks. Now, please just note that the link that you used to join is exactly the same link that you will need 2 weeks from now. So the next in the series will be on the 13th of May, after Easter. So today I can say Happy Easter. And in the chat room, you've seen we are asking you, give us your email addresses. We pick them, and then we can always give you more information, presentations and reminders, but also please remind others. We have a WhatsApp group where we send all these reminders. If you'd like to join it, you can also let us know. Now we will conclude here. I will ask Father Fred Tusingire, who is the director of the Apostolate Department, to bless us after a prayer that I request is led by Keret Original. So we will have a prayer, and then I will request Father Fred to give us a blessing. So good evening, everyone. May God bless you. Have a blessed Easter Holy Week and Easter, and we meet again on the 13th of May. Please let your friends know about it. You know they are
13th of
missing a lot.
April.
Sorry, 13th of April. Sorry, I have run too fast. Thank you for the correction. It's next month, 13th of April, which is exactly 2 weeks from now. So, Keret Original, I am requesting that you unmute and you lead us in a brief short prayer.
Thank you, Chairperson and the moderator and the presenters, in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Father Lord, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the presenters. We thank you for the current situation and the timings of our lives. We thank you for all the learning that is continuously taking place to ensure that we better our lives, we better our generations, we better our tomorrow. And we continue to commit these presentations for the good of the Lord, and may you bless everyone that has attended, such that this information does not only stop here, but continue to disseminate and be fruitful to our people. Through Christ our Lord, I pray. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, now and ever shall
Now
be.
and ever shall be,
Without
world
end.
without end. Amen.
With the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
May the Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
May Almighty God bless you, the Father and the Son.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you and bye-bye.